Hello and welcome. This is Heavy Business. I'm Curtis,
I'm Aaliyah.
and we're here talking to Kyle Edissi from Heathen and Invicta. Kyle, we're trying this again. We tried last week, and Curtis kept losing internet. So, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being accommodating with your schedule.
Yeah, it's no problem.
So, we had gotten, we lost a good bit of conversation that we had, but we were talking about touring and, what it's like touring as a smaller or starting band and stuff like that. So I just don't know where to start with this touring thing. Curtis, do you know where to start with this?
I have no idea, so why don't we just talk out of our asses, I guess.
Well,
Well, how about this? If we want to just talk about his touring in general, why don't we start Kyle, right from the beginning? You've been doing this for a couple of years now, and I mean mainly for Heathen, obviously, and you've done a little bit for Invicta, but Heathen's kind of like your main touring thing right now. Why don't you kind of go over a little bit about how you kind of got into it, I guess?
Okay, yeah. So basically, a couple years ago, Invicta made a music video, and in that music video, I wore a Heathen shirt because I've been a fan since like high school. And I had Craig in on Facebook, and I just sent it to him, being like, one of those like cold call, like, hey, dude, I'm wearing a Heathen shirt in my music video. If you want to check it out,
You sent a YouTube link of your video. Is that what you did?
yeah.
that's
Um,
awesome because you're just
and
just because you're wearing his band shirt. I like that.
Yeah, I was like, I'm wearing a Heathen shirt if you want to check it out. And he checked it out and he's like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. That was for the Sacred Scourge music video. And then we kind of like ever since just kind of kept in contact, and he was like, oh, do you guys have management? Do you guys have a record label? Blah blah blah. And he was like genuinely interested in the band. And then we kept in contact, and he helped us put out our new record, Triumph and Torment. And in between that time, we had done several, Zoom calls and stuff, just kind of just getting to know each other, and just talking, just getting advice from a pro, right? So, um, and in March of 2021, they had, posted their tour dates that they were doing in Europe. I forget if it was either the Testament ones with Exodus or the Toxic headlining ones. I can't remember which ones, but I basically just message him as like, hey, dude, if you need like a merch guy or any kind of tech, let me know, because I want to get out of this goddamn house and get on the road. And the only thing he responded back with was, what if I asked you to play guitar? And I was like, yeah, like, for sure. And then I had to audition and put in the work, because there's a few other dudes that I was like the last dude that I'm aware of, like the last dude that they kind of considered, just because I was a last minute, you know, thing. He's like, oh yeah, this guy plays. And so yeah, I auditioned and got the part, and I've been touring with them ever since. You know, uh, I think our first date was like June 1st or something like that of 2021. So, or 2022. I had the year wrong. 2022 March. I don't know. It's all a blur now.
It is kind of a blur. Like that whole chunk of like 3 years is just all like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what is it?
But basically, yeah, like when touring started again, yeah, it's 2022. Sorry, and then June 1st, 2022. Yeah.
What was the audition process like?
Um. Well, he just asked me to learn the song "Hypnotized," which is their probably one of the most tough songs. And make a video of it and send it. So, I've been a Heathen fan for quite some time, so I knew I was filling in for Lee, so I learned the song by ear as best as I could. And I learned Lee's parts. I didn't bother with any of the other guitar parts. I just, because I've seen like videos of them playing it so many times, I knew which parts he played. Because on the record, it's tough to tell because they do a lot of layering. And so I just played those parts, learned those parts, kind of watch videos. I would like A B the song and like videos of them playing it, and just kind of watch where his hand is, and then just figure out the sounds coming from that area of the guitar. And They liked the way that I played it. I only had like 2 or 3 days to learn the thing, because my girlfriend at the time, she was moving across the country so I live in Kitchener, Ontario, about an hour west of Toronto, on the east coast. My girlfriend at the time was moving to Vancouver, which is 4,000 kilometers away. Um, so we were gonna drive, and it was just like that whole week was really hectic. So they're like, okay, well, you have till this date to give us a video. And I'm like, well, I'm not even gonna be here, so I actually have till like 2 days from now to learn the song, practice it, and get a video. So I called into work sick that day, being like, yeah, I can't come in, guys. And I just, you know, busted my ass for like 24 hours straight, and made the video, and then got the call being like, yeah, you're the guy.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
like
really
it really helps. And like I know some of the other guys that auditioned as well, and like they're killer guitar players, like far better technically than me. But it just really helped that Craig and I had kind of formed this friendship over the last couple years just online, and he knew my work ethic, knew that like when it comes to like music and stuff, being professional and stuff is like super important to me. I'm a very silly dude, and I don't take things too seriously, but like when it's time to get to work, it's time to get to work, you know what I mean? And like we kind of formulated this friendship, and he trusted me, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
so you've toured a lot with Heathen and you've toured
Yeah.
some with Invicta as well.
Yeah.
What are like some of the major differences between like how those tours are run?
Yeah, that's excellent. So when I've toured with Invicta or the Raider tour I just did, filling in for them, or the APOC tour that I did a few years ago, um, those kind of local tours. The main difference is, you don't have like a designated TM that knows all this information. You kind of just know the venue, and sometimes have a contact at the venue, and then sometimes or they give you, okay, get here by X time, and you're like, okay, you kind of just wing it every day pretty much. You don't really know what's going on. You don't know any parking information. You don't get any buyouts or per diems. You don't get, it's like, um it's very bare bones, just kind of throw and go every day. Whereas with Heathen, it can be like that sometimes, because Heathen is one of those legacy bands that's like kind of getting back into touring, because they were out of touring for like 10 years or whatever. So some of the shows can be pretty similar in that sense. But then, when we tour with, bigger acts, like we just did this Overkill tour, or two Overkill tours in the spring summer. There's a TM. There's the venues are like proper venues, not just little dive bars or breweries and stuff. Not saying that those aren't fun to play, or that those are. It's just a completely different realm, right? So playing a place like um, the Palladium or whatever in New York versus playing O'Brien's Pub in Cambridge. It's a pretty weird thing, because you play one the one day, and then the next day on the same tour it could be the opposite. You never really know. So it's a day by day thing. The difference is really.
And that's an interesting I think that all of us in like kind of upstart bands, we're all familiar with the drawbacks of playing smaller and like less professional, I guess, venues.
For
But
sure.
what do you think are some of the benefits of playing those types of venues?
um
Like,
that's
what
a
do you
great
enjoy
question.
about it?
I think I kind of to me it's a there's something about it that's a bit more rock and roll, of just like, fuck it, dude, let's put on a show. Like, you know um some of the most fun shows I've ever played are in small little tiny venues that shouldn't be venues. There's a couple little spots when Heathen did the headlining tour in Europe, or our off dates with the Testament run, that we would play like these small little clubs, um that like hold like 100 people, but like it would be packed and the crowd is crazy, you know, which is it's a different vibe than, you know, playing a festival with thousands of people. I love both of them for different reasons, but it's a way more intimate rock and roll kind of vibe. Even like we used to have this venue in Kitchener, Waterloo here called the Boathouse, and the cap was like 110 people. And whether it was Invicta playing or APOC playing or Raider playing or even like my Iron Maiden cover band playing, and there's a couple other bands in the area, um, but like we would like pack like 250 people in this tiny place, and it would be a sweaty, gross rock and roll mess, you know, and it was just always a fun vibe. There's never any problems, and there's something cool about that, of like that, like the underground scene,
Yeah.
that I love for sure.
Yeah, there's something about that underground scene thing, like the authenticity of it, like genuineness of it, that's so important to rock and metal, I think,
Yeah,
and the culture overall.
yeah, I completely agree. I think you know, metal was always an underground oriented, true fan kind of style of art form, where it's like, you know, obviously like there's the really big acts that are, you know, poppy and like, you know, just do the singles and like, um you know, kind of do that thing. But you know, there's that huge niche of people that still, you know, listen to full albums and like love, you know, shittier production stuff for the sake of it being kind of shittier production, or like, I don't know, it's just like something metal about it, like of just being, you know, extreme in that kind of way, being different, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't think that's not to say that, being bigger, playing bigger venues is like the quote unquote selling out or whatever.
No, no, not at all. I think, you know,
Right.
like I think, you know, I love bigger bands that are still, the only thing that I have a problem with is really like stadium shows, just because you lose that intimacy of really being able to if you have to watch someone from a screen, I think that sucks. But like just as a fan, you know, I'm like, "Oh, I didn't come here to watch a screen, I came here to watch," you know? But
Yeah.
like
I do still
that's
go to some of those shows sometimes,
yeah, I mean,
but
like,
yeah, I get you.
you know, I'm not gonna pass you know, seeing a big band that I love, you know, like, so, it's not, I'm not shitting on that. I'm just saying for like that underground metal, seeing even like a bigger band in like a small little place. I remember playing a show in Sudbury at this, I forget what the venue is called. Sudbury is about 5 hours north of where I live, and there was like show posters all around because it's just like one of those routing cities. And there's like, you know,
What's a
Behemoth,
routing city, if I may ask?
like basically a city that just gets a band gas money. You know what I mean? It's just
It's
between
like the
two
in
bigger,
between two bigger.
yeah, between
Okay,
two bigger markets. There's, you know, the B or C market that like is just like, okay, we're gonna stop, play a show here, get some gas money, and then we go to the next place, essentially. But like there's like all these show posters of like all these bands, like Behemoth on the Demigod tour playing this little tiny room, you know, and it's like there's something to me that's just like, because now you look at a band like Behemoth, you know, they're doing like almost arenas. So it's just like it's crazy to see that growth, but like imagining a show like that in that little tiny room to me is like that's metal as fuck, you know. But like yeah, the big shows are sweet because you get, you know, a big stage to run around on, good sound for the most part, and like professionals working there that like, you know, stage hands help you load your gear in. You know, it's just more professional. So like that's really cool. But they both have, you know, ups and downs.
for sure. I think something was said about you having an inside scoop on what's the best fast food places to eat on tour.
Oh,
Do you have an
oh,
opinion on this?
I mean, like the American embassy is always reliable, and that is McDonald's. That's just
True.
the Worldwide American Embassy. Um, so if you know, sometimes with the guys, we're like, all right, let's get our paperwork done. Um, but you know, yeah, especially in the USA. In Europe, it's different. Um, you don't eat nearly as much fast food. Um, but in USA, Canada, it's pretty much exclusively fast food. Um, but like, you know, I don't think in my travels, my personal favorite of, you know, eating completely unhealthy for like 2 months straight is probably like California Mexican food. California Mexican food is like top
It's pretty
tier.
legit.
It's
Yeah.
so good. You know, Texas barbecue is great too. Um, but like, yeah, we've eaten, you know, literally we're like, oh, I've never heard of that place before. Let's go try that place. Or so, yeah, I don't know. I'm a fat ass, so
Dude, understand. Honestly, I understand. Um, but what are your tips for kind of staying healthy on tour on the other side of that coin?
I am the completely wrong guy to ask because I'm the idiot that like laughs at people that laughs at the guys for being healthy. Like I'm like, ah, you're gonna fucking eat a protein bar. I'm gonna eat a fucking Big Mac, and then I'm gonna eventually die of a cardiac arrest. It's just the way it is. But you know, there are some times where it's like, okay, I need to eat a salad today, or like, because I have like this crippling addiction to like desserts and pastries and stuff. So like on tour, I have like a box of 2 by brownies with me almost at all times. And that's crack for me. Like, so I like wake up, just pop a couple brownies, and I'm like, okay, I can start my day. I don't drink coffee. I don't, you know, so that for me is like my coffee. So the guys know like pastries, that kind of stuff. I'm Yeah, I can't help myself. I have zero restraint. So sometimes it's really difficult for me personally to eat healthy just because I'm like, ah, whatever, fuck it. I'm gonna die anyway. Let's enjoy this. um
Yeah. Well, what other tips do you have for having a successful tour? Then we'll just frame it more generally like that.
Successful
As a
in
musician. Yeah.
what would you consider success? Like coming home with money in your pocket?
I don't know if that's so much to do with like your behaviors on the road so much as the promotion of it, right? I'm
Yeah.
thinking more with like things that your behaviors directly affect, like
Yeah. Well,
relationships and
for sure.
fan
Yeah, you
relationships
know,
with
like
other bands.
yeah, like, you know, being cool and like easy to work with
Be cool,
is like
man.
yeah, exactly. Um, you know, is like the biggest savior in terms of like in the industry and, you know, people wanting to work with you again. That's like super important if like someone's like, oh, I need a guy to do this. And I'm like, oh, this guy was really good and he was cool, so he's easy to work with. I'll link you up with him, kind of deal. Like that kind of networking is super important, and like really knowing the people that you're touring with, like in the band, really helps. And touring, you know, helps with learning how to deal with people 24/7, right? Um, it's just, yeah, you know, try to be as healthy as you can. Like, a couple of the guys in Heathen, uh, are like pretty much vegetarian. So they eat healthier, which helps me eat healthier a little bit. But like for the most part, everyone I've ever toured with, you know, we there's not much. We're not really big partiers. Not really big, you know. Like we basically just like after a show, you know, have a couple beers and then like just go to sleep or drive to the next spot. You know, there's um. So for me at least, it's just like, yeah, the eating is like the number one thing that I have difficulty with personally. But being successful, just, yeah, not ripping each other's heads off sometimes, you know. It's especially, you know, we when I just finished this Raider tour, we've all been friends for like ever, like really close friends. And so like when you get close to people like that, on that kind of level where it's like, you go to each other's mom's house for Thanksgiving, you know, so you kind of have like this comfort with them to be a dick more so than, someone you don't know. Because it's like they know I'm just being a dick right now because I'm in a bad mood, so I can get away with it. So kind of trying to, not do that and not take that for granted and just ruin friendships because, that happens, right? So I don't know. Stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Rewinding back a little bit, do you have any stories about people being not easy to work with? Like specific examples?
Oh, for sure. I'm not gonna name drop and stuff.
No names needed.
But on they're on. Let me think. There's been a couple tours where like there's been like someone in one of the crews that's just like, for me at least, or sometimes for the whole, tour package is like, oh my god, get this guy off of here. Because it's just like, either someone's like complaining all the time and like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, or oh, these people can't understand me. I'm in a different country and there's a language barrier. I can't comprehend that. It's like, dude,
Don't be
yeah,
a
man.
whiner.
It's like, there's that kind of action sometimes. And there's just, some people are just dicks, right? So it you kind of
Okay, so
just have to,
number one, don't whine. We got
yeah,
that.
don't whine, don't be a bitch. We're all on tour, okay? We're all out here dealing with the exact same stuff. We're all not sleeping. We're all, on edge of just living with each other for so long. We're all, you know, having to work every day, do the same stuff. So like you whining about whatever that everyone else is dealing with, we're like, yeah, dude, we know. You don't have to keep going on about it. It sucks, yeah, for sure. But let's put on a show. Let's have fun. Like, so yeah, there's been a couple people like that makes it kind of difficult. But for the most part, like the actual like, pros that that are in that scene, like that's what they live for, right? So it's just like it's super fun to like hang out with those guys that are like actual, road dogs. Um because they're just in for whatever, and like it makes the whole experience more fun and enjoyable than the people that are like kind of like, oh, I miss my bed. It's like, yeah, we know, we all do, but shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's an element of networking too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned another example of networking virtually earlier, how you sent that message to Kragan. And like, are there other examples of how you've messaged, like how you've used social media to network?
Oh, for sure. I think anyone that plays in a smaller band has, messaged their band for like, to someone like, hey, this is inspired by this album. You want to check it out? Um,
Is
so
there a way to do that without being annoying? Because I feel like every
it's
time I
so
get a message like
difficult.
that, I'm
It,
annoyed. I'm always
Yeah.
annoyed.
Well,
Even
well,
if I
he
check it out and then I like it,
well,
the
Kyle kind of
initial
did that
feeling is
to
always
audition
annoying.
to get into Heathen too. Keep in mind, so
Right, right.
I would have thought that would be annoying too, but he seemed to have pulled it off. So
yeah,
Well,
I don't, yeah, I literally, like, to get in, I just sent a random message, hey, if you need a guy. I try to always be like with everything. I always try to like be like 50% like serious, 50% like I don't give a flying fuck. So like, yeah, man, like, dude, if you need, like, if not, it's totally cool, like, you know. Um
uh-huh.
uh but like, I don't know. I know, because I know, yeah, sometimes I get annoyed and I'm like, I'm a nobody, and like, I'm like, to me, I'm like, why are you sending me anything to check out? I guess I'm like the
I
worst.
can't help you.
I'm like, yeah, I can barely help myself. So, so it's like, but people, like the feedback, people, whatever. I actually have a difficult time. I don't really sit around listening to music too much anymore, let alone checking out new music. Because, well, quite frankly, my phone doesn't have a headphone jack, and I haven't gotten around to getting uh the AirPods or whatever. That's the main reason. I
That'll do
just don't,
it.
I just, so I have like my old phone, and that's my music phone that I just have Spotify on and everything downloaded, and then it's like basically just a fancy MP3 player at this point.
It's an iPod at this point.
Literally. So it's like, okay. um and then like sometimes, like if one of the guys will be like Angelo from Raider just the other day sent me this band called Moonlight Sorcery, which is like this melodic black metal.
They are so fucking good. Just gotta say that.
Yeah. He's like, dude, you got to check this out, you're gonna love it. And I was like, okay. And then like a week later, I was like, hey, well, I'm mentally ready to check this out. What was it called again? And
Yes, exactly.
then I'm
I
like,
need that. I need like a week after the first mention, and then I'm like, okay.
yeah, like I'm like, okay, I have time, whatever. I have like time to like sit down and listen to something, because like very rarely do I just have stuff playing in the background even anymore. And like even at home, I'm just always in and out of the house, or I'm just doing stuff. Um, so I was like, okay, I got like an hour of like nothing here, so I'm gonna check out this band. And then I was like, okay, this is pretty sweet. Um, but I found like even like just on the road, there was a couple sweet opening bands. Um, my favorite opening band, and I have no problem saying that because I'm an asshole. But my favorite opening band for Heathen is this band called Livewire from Australia. I have never been so impressed by a local band in my life. They were so sick. It's like speed metal, um, with like super sick high falsetto vocal, like, yeah, you know, fucking just complete shredding the entire time. And I was like, holy shit. And then I, listened to their record like the next day. And I was like, the record sounds just like them live. Like, holy fuck, that's so cool. And I've been, kind of buddies with the guys ever since. And there's a couple of bands like that, but Livewire is just one example of, for how I found something new that I listen to regularly. Um, but it's yeah, I don't know, just like people send me something, I always try to check it out at some point, but sometimes it just gets lost in the cracks, and I feel
Sure.
bad, and I'm like, ah, damn it.
It happens.
They're like, hey, did you check this out? I'm like, oh fuck, because I know I've totally sent stuff to people. They're like, hey, let me know what you think of this or whatever, and I'm in that boat then. And then not hearing back, like, oh, they probably hated it or whatever. And it's like, in reality, it's just
No,
they just
probably
they never even fucking clicked it. It's
yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
whatever.
Man, so much neuroticism under amongst us musicians.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, I've never seen people that simultaneously love and hate music more than musicians. It's
True.
like,
True.
it's weird. It's like sometimes it's just like, you're all in it, and then there's other days where you're like, I don't want to hear a single thing in any pitch at all.
Podcasts only. Skip the intro songs.
Yeah, I like, honestly, I don't even really
Audiobooks.
I don't even, if I'm like not listening to music and stuff, I'm probably just
Silence.
silence is a big one. Even on tour, like if I'm like sleeping or hanging out in my bunk or something, I rarely have like my headphones on. I'm just like in silence, just because it's like different. Because even like if I'm like doing something, I'll like put something on or whatever. But yeah, silence has been a big one for me lately. But I love documentaries or like whatever. I put on like a 3 hour YouTube video on like some random the origins of Dracula or something, and that's kind of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move into talking a little bit about Invicta. what's next for y'all? I think you have a tour coming up soon, right? Or
Yeah,
kind
we
of a
have a
mini.
couple dates. Yeah, we have a couple dates with First Fragment in the States
Yeah.
at the end of November. Um, so Reef and Steve are both. Reef is my drummer of Invicta, and Steve is my bass player. They are both filling in for the band Razor on their European tour with Destruction in October. So, and then Jonah is also he's a professional sound guy, and he's the front of house guy for the band Protest the Hero. Sorry. And so they have like this big 6-week tour in the States in October. And then I have a couple of Heathen dates. So we're kind of all kind of, and then we could finally make something work. We were asked to do a few more shows than the 4 that we could than the 4 that we're on, but we're just not here for it. So we were like, okay, yeah, let's do as many as we can. So yeah, we're doing, I think, the 26th to the 29th, I believe, of November. Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Philly, New York, I think. And then there's talks of possibly doing another tour in December with another band. I hope that comes to light. My work is not going to enjoy me being gone again, but I don't care. But yeah,
Gotta do what you gotta do.
yeah, exactly. And actually, like when we had that little break there with the recording, that was Jonah, my guitar player, just called me because he's been coming over like all the time. We're working on we just put out a new album in March, but always working on new stuff. So so yeah, basically that's what's up with Invicta. We're kind of all over the place while simultaneously trying to work on new stuff and play shows, and it's kind of really hectic. Even before we were all doing these ventures with other bands and stuff, it was always really difficult getting all 4 of us in the same room. We all kind of are different schedules. I like for my job, I'm a line cook, so I work usually evenings, nights. Reef, he's an electrician, so he's like early mornings, days. We're like 12-hour days, 14-hour days.
So your schedules are like.
Yeah, Jonah's a sound guy, so he works like all day, all night. And then Steve is a roofer, so he does like mornings and stuff. And we all kind of like, me and Jonah kind of live close, but Steve lives in Guelph, which is about half hour, 40 minutes away. And then Reef, he lives in Paisley, which is about 2 hours north. So it's always been really difficult getting all 4 of us in the room to do anything. It's just what we've been dealing with for the last few years, and it's how we work, and we make it work. So
that's right, you got to make it work. And I think a lot of musicians struggle with if you don't have the drive to make it work, then you're not going to make it work. But
yeah, exactly,
that's I think a key to keeping a band alive.
Yeah, for sure. And like we haven't had any actual member changes or anything ever since like I kind of put the band together, because when I just put the band together, I just kind of got some dudes I knew to like play a couple shows to kind of like get the people in the scene, because I was already in a couple bands at the time, but get the people in the scene, okay, I'm starting another band kind of thing. And then once I got these group of guys, it's been the same since like I think like late 2017-ish, I think. So not bad for a couple local
Not
kids.
bad. Not bad at all. I wanted to ask you, I know we're kind of running low on time here. But I wanted to ask you, as a Canadian who's toured the States, can you offer any insight for Canadian bands who are trying to play shows in the States?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is the visa. The visa is very expensive, and it's tough for local-ish bands and stuff to.
Do you have to have like your dates booked before you can apply for the visa?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you're supposed to. You're supposed to have, all your ducks in a row before, and then you're essentially what you apply for is whatever dates you give them. So when you do your application, you try to get as many dates as possible in the future, whether or not they happen or happen to get canceled is whatever, but then you have the visa till that date regardless. So yeah, the visa's tough just because it's so expensive, and a lot of people don't know about like the musicians union that we have. So like in Canada, in the States too, it's the AFM, I think. Um but we have like the CFM, which is the musicians union, and we have an office just like in downtown Kitchener here, um which is really convenient for, you know, us in this area. Um and they help, you know, for an extra cost. They help do the application for the visa, and they have like all the paperwork streamlined and stuff, and then they kind of submit it on our behalf instead of us having to get a lawyer and whatever and pay
Because it'd
lawyer
probably be more
fees.
expensive for a lawyer.
I would
Is
imagine.
it?
I don't actually know. I know my sister's also a musician, and she had to do a lawyer thing for when she had her visa, um and also had to pay like almost 3 grand for like a rush processing fee or something
Oh yeah, because that's a
ridiculous.
big thing. How much time are you supposed to? How
um
long? How much leeway do
yeah,
you?
it's like you want, they tell you with most applications I find for whatever is like the standard 90 days is kind of like the standard of, usually they get back to you in like 60. And usually when you submit it, like it's 60 days till like, you know, you kind of go, because musicians procrastinate, or artists procrastinate everything, right? So it's like, you know, you'll be bugging someone like, hey, like we need this paperwork, or hey, we need these dates, or hey, like we got this is coming up, it's coming up, and oh no, I'll get to it, I'll get to it. And it's like, oh shit, like, so it does get nerve wracking where it's like, I'm going to the States in a couple days, and I still haven't had my like application fee or my application like approved. So then it's like, you know, it's kind of nightmare situation, because you know you don't want to cross the border without a visa, because that is also very scary doing that. And it's, I wouldn't recommend anyone do that, just because if you get caught, you're like banned from the States for like at least 10 years or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
How about
they take
tips for
it
the
pretty
border
serious.
crossing to help it be smoother?
Sorry.
Said, how about tips for the border crossing to make it smoother?
Border crossing. I find honestly when I'm in the driver's seat, it goes by really quick because I put on like this customer service voice, and I kind of just like don't take it seriously. Um, you know, I drive up to the border guard, hey, how's it doing, man? You know, and just like everyone else is always like, oh, you know, like, oh, it's like they're in
Right.
trouble
So
for
their
something.
stress is just
Yeah, they're
oozing
so
out of their
stressed out.
pores.
They're so stressed out, and then, you know, sometimes whatever. Most of the time, the border people are like, okay. Sometimes, you know, they go on power trips, right? But like, most of the time, they're pretty cool. They're just kind of like, so like, how long are you gonna be in the States for? Well, these are the dates. This is everything. You just want to make sure you have all your paperwork in line. Obviously, don't bring drugs across the border with you. Always do
Find somebody across the border to
It's
stop
kind of
you.
it's kind
yeah,
of
you,
shocking you even have to say that, to be honest. But yeah,
it is, but you do have to say it, because if you, the one time you don't say it is someone will forget something.
it's amazing.
It's you know, it's crazy. So it's just like everyone's like good. I don't even smoke weed or anything, so like I'm always the guy being like, all right, guys, you guys got your rid of your shit, because I don't want to have to deal with your bullshit, you know. Um, so yeah, you know, obviously that, and just, yeah, like it's so simple if you have all of your stuff professionally kind of laid out, and like no shenanigans, you know, don't give y- don't give them a reason to give you a hard time, right? Like it's like that for any border crossing, really. It's just like, you know, just be polite, be, yeah, okay, be easy to work with, and then boom, you're like, okay, I'm gonna cross the border. 5 minutes later, whatever. It's pretty simple. I actually find that most of the time coming back into Canada, I have the most trouble.
Really?
Yeah, and I
Why?
don't know why, because like, what are you gonna do? Refuse me back? Like that's you can't do that. But like, but like it always seems like it's the most like the only time we ever like had to get out and like they had to like search our like vehicles and stuff is always getting back into Canada and stuff, and we're like, okay, like you're not gonna find anything because we don't have anything, you know. But you know they're just doing their job, right? And you gotta always remember that.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
it's easy to go, oh, this guy's being a fucking dick, dude. And it's like, yeah, you know, he's just doing his job, you know.
Yep.
Sometimes a little bit too much. Oh well.
Yeah. I think that's about all we have time for. Curtis, do you have any final questions for our friend Kyle here?
Probably nothing that's not going to take a while. So we probably will have to have him back at some point in the next few months.
Of course.
I'm in.
Anytime, Kyle. All right. Anything you want to promote here in the last segment, Kyle?
Well, anyone that doesn't know Invicta or whatever, check out the new album, Triumph and Torment. Heathen has a couple shows in California lined up in October. Go check out those dates. And they're also planning new dates, I think. I don't know. I kind of just go with the flow. Invicta has those 4 shows in November. Go check those out. Oh, what happened to my thing?
Your camera turned off.
Well, this is
Or
the best
unplugged.
time for it to turn off, if any time.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what happened. Oh well. Anyway, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Kyle, and everyone listening. Thank you for listening. And until next time, make like a bull and throw those horns up.